you can stream it both on Twitter just as YouTube, and you
Yeah.
can screen share there too.
Yeah.
So it seems more convenient.
Yeah, next time definitely gonna use that one. With Twitch is always quite easy. I think we should be, yeah, I'm live now. Yeah, with Twitch is
Okay.
always quite easy because then you can just hop in like a studio together, and I can like copy the link of, for example, your face cam, but also your screen share, and then add it to my studio, and then I can manage it all from there. But we are live. So to the people that are already tuning in, welcome guys. I'm quickly just going to make a few announcements that the live stream is starting, so that people can tune in.
We'll do mine as well.
Awesome. Just sending some messages. For the people that are already in the stream, let me know if everything is working well for you guys, and you guys can hopefully see my face, but also the screen, and hopefully you guys can also hear me. Almost done. Okay, I think I've made the announcements. Stream should be working. I can see the chat, I can see everyone. Welcome guys, I hope you're all doing well. We are here today together with the big Jackies, one of my favorite traders in the space, one of the most transparent and also knowledgeable traders in my opinion in the space. Don't want to put too many feathers up his ass, but definitely very, very excited to have you here today with us, my friends. I hope you're doing well. And how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, and thank you for the kind words. I hope I am deserving of those fully. And yeah, I'm doing great. Just a lovely sunny day here in Czech Republic. I'm not sure how it is all around. Not sure how it is in your country, Yip. But yeah, here we are looking for our first bike tomorrow with my girlfriend.
Nice.
So totally looking forward to that. And in the meantime, I am fully getting prepared for this bottoming process that I call it in crypto, that I hope it to be.
That sounds like music to my ears, my friend, because I'm looking for something similar. And over here, the sun is actually shining as well. So good vibes over here in the Netherlands as well. Spring is finally starting, and hopefully summer starts soon as well. So no, definitely very happy to hear that you are doing well. And as I said, extremely excited to have a look at your charts. And as you said, you are potentially looking for a bottom to form on Bitcoin. So I think without further ado, guys, if you guys have any questions while watching today's stream together with Jackies, make sure to ask us all the questions that you guys want in the chat. I will make sure to keep my eyes on the YouTube chat. In the meantime, welcome everyone. And I think we just dive straight into the charts, Jackies. And I can't wait to see your view on Bitcoin and what you think could be next for Bitcoin, and how a potential bottom potentially could be looking on Bitcoin, my friend.
Yeah, let's start with BTC. I generally tend to think that we should be undergoing the bottoming process that I call it all around in the markets. We know that BTC is nowadays very correlated to stocks. I know that lots of people are still trying to push this narrative that it isn't, and it's an uncorrelated asset. But I have a let me actually just quickly put it over here. Pretty decent analogy or comparison, sorry, with Mach 7. If we add Mach 7 to the equation, and let me put it down there, we can clearly see that the correlation with Mach 7 stocks is a pretty big one. You can see the tops and the bottoms coming at around very similar times. So I think that this factually says that we are indeed, dependent on the broader risk-on conditions in the world. And I would say one thing: this crypto drop that we've seen wasn't really crypto related, and that is very important to keep in mind, because with that, I think the moment things stabilize and the moment we will see things calm, people will learn how to price in all the tariffs and all of that. I think Bitcoin will be one of the first to bounce, and we can quite clearly even see during this most recent drop that it's holding far better than Mach 7 stocks, who quite visually have seen much further deeper drop. By the way, Mach 7 stocks, for those that do not know, it's a combination of Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Apple, Google, Tesla, Nvidia, right? One of the, they combine account for and don't hold me for specific numbers, but it's around, I think, 30% of SPX, so pretty big, right?
Yeah, someone is also asking in the chat, what was that chart that Jackie's just compared? But there you have your answer already, my friend.
I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to call the levels because I know some people are listening from work. So I'll try to call the levels too for the listeners, just as the charts.
Awesome.
But hopefully I answered that. And so as you can see, on this latest drop, we see quite actually lots of strengths, right? Many people will say, hey, Bitcoin is very weak. Look at all these rejection. And I would say we see those rejection. Obviously, it's not pumping. But the thing is that if you compare it to assets that matter, then you see that it's holding, its sell-offs pretty well. This whole drop has been probably one of the most or best managed drops in a while, If you look at it, everything is pretty efficiently traded, retraced back to. So again, putting everything into context, I think the moment that we see stocks to generally come down, I think we will see the bounce. And I think looking at those and looking at stuff all around, I think we are in this what I call a bottoming process. So what I mean with that, right? Bottoming process to me is where stuff has already significantly dropped. It was from my side well anticipated drop, and now I think that some assets still have lower to go. I still think, for example, ETH is still to hit new lows here locally. I think Bitcoin potentially doesn't hit new low anymore. Speaking of the current one that we have from 11th of March at 76.7K. So I think this one could potentially be the one. Listen, I obviously know this whole game is about probability, so I cannot rule it out. But and I have a plan for if we were to drop lower, and we can jump to that. But as of right now, I tend to think context-wise, this could be it, and we would start to rotate from here. Not to make it a monologue. If you have some questions, man, and want to jump in,
yeah, no, I just love to listen to this, because I actually have a very similar view. Also, the fact that ETH is weaker and might hit new lows, it would also create a big SMT divergence between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I personally also really like this low, because this low slightly was front running the previous all-time high levels. And I feel like many people are and have been waiting for a retest of those previous all-time highs. So also from the previous cycle, but also the one from earlier in 2024. And I feel like if you would give a perfect retest like that, and everyone would get the opportunity to get in, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I would actually also prefer for Bitcoin to front run the current low and hold the current low, and then for Ethereum to potentially form lower lows and then get that SMT. And everything you're saying so far is just making a lot of sense to me. And I think also to the people that are listening and watching. So as soon as I have a question or anything is unclear, I will make sure to obviously ask that question straight away.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that too. By the way, speaking of the SMT divergence or intermarket divergence, whatever you want to really call it, we had one right here on at the bottom, right when it was. Frankly, this is not something we are used to these days, but it was actually Ether that didn't make new lows while Bitcoin has, right?
It's crazy.
So this time around, you can think of it, and this would be much bigger one. You would need to use monthly, but we already are getting one here.
Yeah.
But the one you were likely referring to was this local one when we are going to get. So I think this is going to be the case. I think BTC potentially has hit the bottom, but obviously, again, just like you mentioned, and this was something that I was also saying when we were trading up here in this range, that if we do, obviously, I was anticipating the drop, but again, as I said, everything's about probability, so you can never be sure. But if we do have it, and we had, then I do tend to think that we will see a front run of this level.
Exactly.
Because this is where literally everyone was looking to buy. And either two scenarios happen. Either we front run it or we go through it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a problem with it now anymore. I think it was okay if we kept selling here in a straight drop, back to this range. That I could work with. But lately, I cannot see that really happening anymore because that would really kill lots of the charts.
Yeah.
Not to mention, as what we discussed, right? It's not really a crypto drop. It's an all-around risk-on drop. And so in order to have this type of sell-off, you would need SPX to... Let me maybe hide Ether for now. You would need SPX to be selling off to way deeper levels. So in order for BTC to go down here, you would need SPX to hit probably sub August 5th lows or something, Because once again, as we can see, BTC is holding relatively well since it sold off, while SPX has been going down. Obviously, SPX mainly correlated to Max 7.
Yeah.
But once again, you cannot have one without the other, right? So that I would have a problem with because I tend to think these are decent levels for at least a intermediate bounce. And we'll see what comes after, right? Whether this becomes a lower high and we go lower, or whether you get the lower high but you get higher low and you sort of form this range, whatever here, before you go higher. I'm generally personally not seeing reasons for a recession right now, looking all around the numbers, whether it's jobless claims, putting the context together from all the data we are receiving. I'm currently not seeing the reasons for a recession, but maybe something changes along the way. But my base case for now is that we see higher up and BTC should appreciate it. So
I just really like also yesterday the speech of Donald Trump, that we were actually dumping during the speech instead of pumping during the speech. Because I feel like this move to the downside has also partly been fueled by like the news around tariffs and the uncertainty and doubts around tariffs. So where we usually see like buy the rumor, sell the news kind of events, this to me looks a little bit more like sell the rumor, buy the news kind of event. And for example, when we compare it to Trump's inauguration, where we pumped swiftly towards new all-time highs and then we saw a dump. And also with the Bitcoin ETF release, we also first swiftly pumped up on the news and then we dumped right after. And to me, this is like similar behavior, but then like inversely, obviously. But to me, it looks very similar, like the psychology behind it and the sentiment. But then, as I said, obviously inversely compared to the previous two times that I mentioned. So also
well said, and I would add to that it was really the uncertainty surrounding the tariffs, where the market doesn't like uncertainty and usually tends to sell off in it. And I think this is the news where obviously the news will be shocking to some countries. I think the markets will probably still be pricing that in, maybe over the next week or so. But generally, it's settled now, right? Like the markets will price that in more or less, and I think they've been until now.
Exactly.
Most of it has been.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you have that clarity of how it's going to be next, and the world will be able to move forward from that. And the toughest part was like, he said, I'll be honest, I did not even follow that closely because it was like 1 week it was 50% tariffs on Canada, and the next week it was something else. So it was really more about like creating this environment. Hey, tariffs are coming, and then the market started to price that in, that uncertainty. I think it's going to affect some companies more than the others because some moved, for example, their production to countries like Taiwan, Sri Lanka, and so forth, and suddenly these countries have huge tariffs, right? Much bigger even than China. So obviously, the market will be pricing it in. Some will be more affected, but generally, again, this is not, and I will keep reminding this is not a crypto-related job.
Yeah.
The fundamentals have never been better for Bitcoin.
Exactly. It's just a matter of a waiting game.
Yeah, this is a solidified asset now, broadly accepted. And I know that there'll still be entities who say like Bitcoin is a scam used for money laundering, right? But this is good because this is just few entities, mostly very, uneducated. Yeah. And this is exactly what creates still the possibility for the upside. If you had all entities in the world right now saying like Bitcoin is amazing, all of that, everyone would be in already. The fact that you still have doubters still opens up the possibilities for the upside. Well, at the same time, you have lots of trusted entities that lots of people have been waiting for to like sort of tell them, hey, this is good, right? So in that sense, the fundamentals, again, never been better. You have all the ETFs you needed. You have the support from TradFi. And yeah, so I think this is probably the max you're getting.
Yeah.
And likely you are going to see further upside coming in. Unless obviously something fundamentally changes. But again, the protocol has been tested to its core multiple times. And the only thing that would break the trust for BTC would have to be some bug in the code or something. Yeah. So unless that is happening, I'm just not seeing prolonged downside here for BTC.
There are some interesting questions as well. James is asking, someone was asking for your social, so I sent your Twitter. Is there any other social that I need to share with them?
There isn't. I generally just use Twitter, honestly. I also obviously stream on, we host a show, the BB Market Check, every single day on YouTube. So be sure to check that out if you want to hear from me. But it's not just from me, right? That's the whole team of BB.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Awesome.
But I'm there Monday to Thursday personally. So yeah, awesome. if you want to hear from me, it's always hosted at sorry, I'm just trying to translate it to UTC times and EST times. So if you give me 1 sec, it should be 4 CET, 4 p.m. CET.
So that's 2 p.m. UTC right now. And that's that's 10 Eastern. So 4 p.m.
should be 11 Eastern.
11.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, sorry. 10,
right?
I said CET, but yeah, UTC that should be 4 p.m. Yeah, 4 p.m. If I'm not mistaken, there is a 1 hour difference between UTC and CET, but let's not get it too complicated around that time.
The difference actually 2 hours between CET and UTC because of like summertime over here in Europe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. We just had the summertime changes, which are also different between US, Europe, and so forth. Exactly. And it's just too complicated, man. I had a theory about this, and I had a better solution. And I know that this would be maybe complicated at first for certain people, but it would ease things so much if you just had one universal time across the whole world. And like, so the only difference it would be is that you would have to like get used to the fact that you would not, for example, be waking up at like 8 a.m. You would still wake up with the light coming up, right?
Yeah.
You would just call that time like, for example, 5 p.m. or so on. But everyone in the world would have the same time. And if you would say, hey, this match is, you probably know it. Whenever I wanted to watch a Champions League game, from a different country, and I was always
such
like,
a hassle always, man.
Always. And it's like when I talk to the guys from US, it's like they're using EST time, then you have the Western time in the US, and too complicated. Anyways, back to the charts.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Someone is also asking, when you say some assets are to hit new lows, Ethereum for example, do you have a specific time frame in mind? For example, do we bounce to 92k first, or do you just see us chop lower short term? James is asking that one.
Good question. I tend to think that we probably see this bottoming process unfold through April. I would tend to think that the bottom comes in these next 14 days.
Yeah, same. But, I actually stated the same yesterday on
amazing.
Or today, that I said in the next 2 weeks we were going to bottom out.
I tend to think so, because we have the next FOMC meeting on early in May, and that will be probably the last one when they keep the rate cuts untouched. Maybe even we could get a surprising cut, but I'm not sure of that. But it will be the last one when they stay paused, and it will be known that in the next one we will probably get the rate cuts, and I think the market will start to price that in, and usually it starts to price that in obviously ahead, So like when it actually happens, it's usually too late, as we know. If you wanted to bet on the market downside because of the tariffs, well, that already played out to the most degree, right? So the market will now be looking like, hey, tariffs are in, it's we have some clarity how to work with it, and I think again, maybe like final blow off here. But and I would be, again, time wise, I would be looking for the next 14 days, although please do not hold me accountable on times or anyone.
I'm coming for you if it's not bottoming out in the next 2 weeks.
Predicting timing is one of the hardest thing, nearly impossible thing to do. So we get estimates, right? So for example, we can know when FOMC meetings are. We can get a guess, but like looking back on this BTC range, you could have easily continued higher here, and instead you get a second retest, but then you continued up anyway in much quicker fashion, right? So you cannot. So like you could have been, all right, we're going to bounce from here and go higher, and we could be at 48k by, let's say, September, but instead it got postponed, and then we went there anyway. It just happened in January, right? So I'm just trying to say, predicting timing is super hard, and things can happen along the way. So you really need to go level to level, month to month. But as of right now, I think we are pretty close, and I would tend to think, again, mid-April we are bottomed likely. That doesn't mean that we will not spend some more time down there, for example, but that the bottom is likely in by then, right? So it can look like you can maybe you get a more range, then you drop, and then you're kind of bottom, but you can spend some more time there, and it will take time. Even if you do something like this, right? This can still take until May, maybe even longer. Who knows exactly? But
I feel like sometimes like time capitulation is more painful to people than price capitulation, if you know what I mean. Just like
100%, man.
Yeah.
If you remember September feelings from 2024, I've talked to lots of people. I was trying to protect them from this drop, but this drop felt way better for them actually than this one.
Yeah,
This is when they,
yeah, that one hurts a lot more. It's just the frustration is unbearable to a lot of people that don't have like a clear plan and don't know how to practice patience, you know, which is super important, especially on higher time frame trading and higher time frame investing. And I feel like time capitulation is just it fucks people up. That's why I always, for example, on Ethereum during February 2025, we put in that major wick to the downside, and then we closed it as a bullish hammer candlestick. I just knew that wasn't gonna be the bottom, or at least timing wise it wasn't gonna be the bottom, and that it would take a long ass time after that wick to really form a proper bottom. Eventually we filled that entire wick, but it was more like people expect price to then capitulate very hard to the downside, then it puts in a big wick, and then they think that the bottom is in, just because that capitulation got bought up really swiftly. But it's just exactly that one, and then the capitulation of time afterwards, that is what truly hurts people, and we're really like frustration and fear is kicking into the market, and that is what you see all the time on all assets actually. So that is what I really like currently on Ethereum, for example, and also on Bitcoin, is that this correction has been taking quite a while to form, and I also don't mind if it takes a little longer, because the longer that it takes for the base to form and for the correction to finish, the more aggressive and the more sustainable the next move towards the upside will be as well, in my opinion.
Agreed. The time capitulation truly hits most people, because I think it's with the current world when people are used to instant gratification. Plus, you know, people need the results now. You know, everyone's chasing quick riches. So like, you know, it's the most crypto thing when you tell someone, hey, you can make, you know, 5x on this coin, and they'll be like, 5x? I don't want that. I need 50x.
Exactly.
You know?
That is how to hurt a market like this, you know, where people are in it for the quick gains. And if you like simply think about it in a logical way, there's never the case where the majority of the market is earning money. So if we want to hurt the majority of the market, how are we going to hurt them? By simply making sure that it takes so long for the move to occur that everyone is waiting for, that no one believes in that move anymore, and then we form that move, and then everyone gets left behind. That is, in my opinion, in crypto, the best way to hurt people, because very hard moves to the upside or to the downside, obviously it hurts people as well, but people in crypto can quite often, like, they can resist very aggressive moves, right? Because that's what they're in crypto for. So to really hurt them, it makes more sense to hurt them time-wise than actually with very aggressive moves on price.
Indeed.
Aki is asking, where does Jackie see Ethereum going down and potentially bottoming in the short term? What are interesting? I'm actually curious as well. Like, let's say we do get another swift move down on ETH. What are like interesting levels to you? Because I can see that big order block. If you zoom out more on, exactly that one. I feel like a lot of demand came into the market that fueled that previous impulse. So I personally don't see it going much lower than that order block, but I don't know about you.
To be absolutely clear, this is so. I would maybe start, and I hope I finish that. But I would start with what you were saying right here, right? With that big wick, and then I'll lead to this OB and so forth. So. Let me actually put just easier, and let me hide all of these and begin here. So it kind of, to me, started here on the weekly time frame, where I think the market was, from my point of view, still bullish and ready to go, as we were holding above this weekly support. But the moment it broke down, things changed, and then we had this very quick follow through in a single day. But then we bounced really quickly back up. And I think what could have happened here, this is what tricked so many people. And I was trying to say, hey, try to imagine as if this week didn't happen. Try to view it like this, and you have a completely different market.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying to ignore it, but just don't clinch to it, because if you were to look at this one, you were more or less in this pretty decent liquidity just below it,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, it happened. But this is what tricked lots of people. And I was saying, I'm trying to get, because you need to see the story behind the chart. You need to see the emotions, that you can visually see represented there. And so the situation here would be way different for me, because I sort of view, and I will have to put a secondary chart here, which would be BTC, and I will refer to it with a COVID drop, because actually, let me stay on the daily. And what we had basically was some sort of this price action. It's not perfect, but the psychology behind it is the same. And obviously, you will have a longer period here of the range than here. But you had some form of run up here. Then you get some topping range. You get the sell off, and then you get the bottoming range. Here it's again slightly different, but more or less.
I can see the similarities for sure.
Then you start to run, and then something totally unexpected happens, right? This is COVID. Well, this was tariffs, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as you were holding, so similarly here, right? As you were holding here, you could have still kind of continued higher up, but you then break the structure, COVID hits, and you see the sell-off. The difference for me here, and it's always about these slight differences that you need to take into account, was that we had this very quick drop, but we didn't see any closing or follow through down below. If we saw that on the day, if we saw that here on February 3rd, and we were going down here and down here, or like see a huge wick down, and then closing here, totally different situation. The fact that I was getting out of the market completely when we were on this Sunday Sunday move, and then before I went to bed as a European, and then I woke up and we had this insane move, and prices were already back up here. So literally no time for most market participants who were holding to panic, right? Most market participants saw this wake and thought like, all right, I survived that. That was the shakeout, and now we go down. Now we go up, right? Look at this big wick. How can you be bearish here? I was actually shorting straight, by the way. I was actually shorting.
If you think about it, you said people didn't have time to panic, but also people like the bigger players in the market that want to accumulate as much Ethereum as possible, they didn't have the time to fill their orders because they were asleep or because it was outside of the usual trading hours. So that is also why I feel like that week was a big draw on liquidity, because price moves so fast. The bigger players in the market, they don't get the time to fill their orders, because to fill orders like that, it takes a lot of time, right? You don't fill those kind of orders in a matter of minutes. And because the drop was so aggressive, so swiftly, which is indicated by that week, those kind of weeks, they always act as a big draw on liquidity, actually.
I like that, because there is actually what you said, right? Like there are entities, people, whatever
we're gonna call them.
And when certain price gets hit, they have they will start to buy at certain price range, but through time. So like buy every minute or every hour, usually every minute in these instances at that price. But when the price is not trading down there, well, it moves away and they are not filled, right?
Exactly.
So second thing, or I'm not sure what account we are on currently, but like another important thing to me was that the capitulation here, right, happened in August 5th, 2024. This was the capitulation that could have mean the market bottom. After all, we had at least this monthly retest.
Yeah.
It could have mean it. We had the bottoming range. When we had this move, there was no reason for me to capitulate to the same level. It's called capitulation for a specific reason, right? People either capitulate due to price being so low and they lose the hope, or time capitulation as well. But this one was no capitulation. I was saying this is rather a liquidation bounce. And I was also referencing it, by the way, to... I hope I do not delete some of my old drawing. But I was referencing it to this one, right?
Yeah.
You had a big liquidation. People think, all right, this is the capitulation. But in reality, you didn't really capitulate even below these lows.
Also, what kind of day was that? It was also a Sunday, I believe, right? Saturday. You see?
Saturday, yeah,
People are
that's
just
amazing.
out of the market. So it's exactly the difference between a capitulation and a liquidation week.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. That statement.
So right here, we also continued lower, just like we have on ETH. And I think right now on ETH, again, it's going to be different. But we also here came to, there was lots of reasons. There was a CME gap. There was this block of price to hold it, people capitulating below these lows and so forth for bonds. I think this time it's different. I think we will not see this follow through after for context purposes. But even if we were to see just the bonds, again, I think we are at these levels where we are at the capitulation. As I was saying, the capitulation happens below here. And so again, due to the fact that we did not trade down there like during COVID, where we have, we've clearly, sold off, closed way below here.
Few candles spent down there to fill the orders.
Yes, exactly. So due to that, I saw the continuation is coming down. And now I'm getting to what was the question, and I apologize, but I needed to explain the story behind, right? Because that's really important. Is that we had this all this time, right? So here, people still believe, hey, this is, the capitulation. Are you're delusional if you are calling for these levels. That's what I've been told. And so people are still very hopeful here. If you remember, we had the, this sell-off, people were through the buy-big hack, right? This was the buy-big hack, and people were like, we got buy-big hack, and this was all that the bears could have done. So bullish, right? So this was the narrative floating back then. And now that you sold off further and further, and you had the strategic crypto reserve announced here, and you sell off further, all the hope is lost now. And people are truly capitulating down below here. And so I do not feel that there is more price drop needed for people to capitulate. I think most people have. We saw people deleting their .eth from their nicknames. And so why should this block then hold? Well, to me, this is I still view this as a mega range from 2021. And we are currently at the lows of it. And to me, I tend to think that this range is where institutions are really loading up, but not for years, but for decades. And once we leave here, we will trade for probably years and never revisit, really. If under the circumstance, obviously, we are bullish. Under the circumstances, we are not. If we were to lose this, critical area and notice the liquidity we are currently building near it, if we were to lose it, that would signify to me a structural change. And honestly, that would be really bad. So if you were to accept below here, that means you're likely going down here. And at that point there really isn't much hope, because maybe you get some escape pump, but you continue lower and it's kind of over. So to me, I cannot guarantee that we hold here, but I see decent probabilities for it, and it's very close to invalidation too. So just level versus taking for me. So speaking of levels, obviously, we can then zoom in on lower time frames, and we can like discuss: are we going to fill this? Are we going to fill the totality of the FVG on the daily? I view it as, hey, we have arrived at the whole demand area. Anything down here to me is a discount, big discount. And I'm trying not to play it too perfect, because I've learned that not all FVGs need to get filled, and nor they will. Not all eco-lows need to get swept. And at certain point, it makes no sense to stay down there. So I view it, I still think, like, locally speaking, how I'm observing the price action, we should still see that drop further. But if by any chance we were to start to reclaim higher from here, even without taking these lows, I'll be ready. I'll be ready to flip bullish, because I've been through the market for a while, man. I've been through the market, and I've seen, big CT accounts and how they missed their entire bull market, because they were waiting for, not just this retest, but even, as something logical that you would tend to think would be this retest. And then it doesn't come, you do not sweep the lows. And at certain point, when you start to flip here, you need to flip with the market, even if you were expecting lower. And this is where I believe lots of people make lots of mistakes, is that they have a valid, expectation to buy at this level, for example. But then it doesn't come, but they keep waiting for it, and they're like, all right, it will come, it will come, it will come. And then the price is too high and they missed it, right? So you need to be very, very reactive in the market.
Exactly.
Flexible.
We don't have to predict the market, but rather react to the market. Talking about wicks, I'm quickly going to show you one chart. It's more intraday chart for Bitcoin. I'm quickly going to share my screen with you. Give me a second. Curious to hear your thoughts on this chart as well. Let me know if you can see it.
No, I think I have to stop the stream on Discord. And yes, now I can see it.
Awesome. Yeah, so talking about wicks, yesterday we actually saw something very similar, in my opinion, right? Where during that speech of Trump, we had all of this liquidity that was building up over here above those highs. Before the speech over here, we were front running that liquidity, resting above those highs. Now, thinking about it from a logical way, let's say people have been accumulating buy positions over here, right? Because we were consolidating inside of this liquidity pool, and we also had liquidity resting over here, in my opinion. Now, they accumulate their positions over here, and then they need to think of a place where they can potentially get rid of their positions. Let's say they bought a lot of Bitcoin over here or accumulate a lot of longs. They need to get rid of those positions. So they're looking for buy-side liquidity in order to fill their sell orders. Well, that liquidity is resting above those highs. But yesterday, first off, we wicked into that liquidity pool during a news event. Well, I think during that news event, not a lot of market participants were very active in the market and rather observing the speech of Donald Trump. And also, we wicked into that liquidity pool over here for only like 1 or 2 minutes. And then we rejected, put in a major wick to the upside. And now we have been seeing a very strong impulsive move to the downside, creating a lot of inefficiencies. So now a lot of people probably get very bearish again. But market makers didn't get the opportunity to get rid of their buy positions and long positions, but also didn't get the opportunity and the time to potentially fill up on short and sell positions over here. You know what I mean? So why would they reverse the price to the downside from here if they didn't get the opportunity to fill their short orders or their sell orders, or to even get rid of buy positions that they potentially accumulated over here? So to me, once again, this is a nice example of a wick. I always tend to think that big wicks like this, especially if they occur during news events, especially if, for example, over here, they wick into liquidity pools over here. If I take, for example, that higher time frame ETH chart over here, on the daily, I believe.
Lots of groups there, ending with 69.
Yeah. A lot of groups, indeed, ending with 69. If we compare it over here, we also wicked into it. You see, very similar as Bitcoin, the chart. Over here, the highs are building up when I invert Ethereum chart. We wick into it get a strong move down over here. This is where we close the candle. And then later, we simply reverse the price and we take out the wick. Why?
Yeah.
Because like we just said, they didn't have the time to fill their orders over here. It was too quick of a move. In this case, it happened during the night and happened over the weekend, I believe, on a Sunday night. Wicked into the liquidity pool, but market makers, first of all, weren't really that active during that time. And also, price didn't spend enough time in that liquidity pool that we had building up over here beneath, in this case, the lows. And therefore, the wick got revisited. So if we then compare that once again, as I said, to this Bitcoin chart, to me, this is just very, very similar, but then on the 1 hourly time frame. So to me, I don't know if it's already going to happen maybe today or tomorrow, but otherwise next week, I'm looking for like nice long triggers in order to potentially hop into an intraday long position as well, and then targeting this week over here. In those weeks, they tend to get filled for 50% or even for 100%. But to me, this is a very similar chart as that Ethereum chart that we just discussed, but then on the 1 hourly time frame instead of on the daily time frame.
That's indeed a very good comparison. I tend to think that if we do not see any follow through here on the downside, we are likely to fill that entire move, and exactly go for that wick, and go to up to 94, 95, 96k area, where I could see us again. Well, we'll see how that exactly unfolds then, because we could get lots of moves in between that could change that. But yeah, locally again, if we do not see follow through and we see price reclaiming higher intraday, and especially on the New York Open today, because today, when Trump began speaking, that was after hours.
Exactly.
So
it's gonna be an interesting day.
Interesting day for sure.
Yeah,
today.
For sure, man. All right. I think we have discussed plenty of charts and plenty of opinions. I really, really enjoyed it also to get your views, and I always love to see it when my views align with people that I think highly of in the space. So I really like the fact that we have similar views and also similar ways of looking at the charts. I simply want to thank you for tuning in today. I hope you had a great time as well.
I had. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I'm definitely down to do this more often if you are as well. But I know that you are a very, very busy man, which is why I simply want to thank you for your time today. Any last words to wrap up the stream with?
Yeah, just try to view this, guys, as an opportunity. I know. Listen, the times have been probably the toughest in crypto history, right? But you need to separate the emotional mind from the logical. And if you look at it from the logical lenses, then you should be able to view the bottoming process, or unless it's entirely over, of course, right? It's just a shot worth taking. And maybe last one, as I've been around through the markets for a decade now. Wow. It's things when they look the ugliest tend to turn around very quickly. Yeah. And I've had that happen to me before.
That's I think that's the perfect way to end off the stream.
All right.
When the charts look the ugliest, that's often the best time to form a potential bottom.
All right, let's end it there.
All right, thank you so much, Jackies. I really appreciate you, and also to all of the people that have been tuning in to today's live stream. Really appreciate you guys as well. I'm actually gonna drop a YouTube update video soon as well, right after the stream, with my update on Bitcoin for today and for the rest of the week. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure to stick around on YouTube in the next hour or so. I want to thank you guys for watching, and then I'll catch you guys